Thank you very much for joining us this week. My name is Erica Allen. I am an 8th grade science teacher at West Valley Middle School. The handout that accompanies this video can be found on the KCS website under the Student Resources tab. This is week 5 activity packet. Today's activity is 8th grade science. And if you need a printed copy of this activity, they're going to be given out during meal distribution sites on Wednesdays between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m. If this video is hard to understand, 1. Turn on closed captions if available. 2. Adjust the playback speed to slow down the video. 3. Consider watching short clips, then pause, listen, and watch again. 4. Ask someone in your home to watch the video with you. Stop frequently and talk to your partner about what you heard and understood. At this point in time, I'm going to go through the materials that you'll need to be able to make your model. So if you notice in the lower right-hand corner, I have the pause button, which means you may want to pause this video so that you can collect some of these materials. The first material that you're going to need is some type of a plastic container. By plastic container, a storage container would work. If you have Tupperware, glass bowl, or even the kitchen sink would work fine. You'll need cold tap water, and hot tap water. Please note that adult supervision should be used when handling and transporting very hot water, but boiling water is not needed for this activity. So turn the tap on as hot as you can, but make sure that you're testing the temperature of the hot water, as some hot water taps can get very hot. You'll also need something to color the hot water, whether you use food coloring, pepper, drink mix, or if you have any dye left over, if you dyed eggs a couple weeks ago, any of that will work. You'll also need a small bottle with a narrow neck, like an empty hand sanitizer bottle, an empty shampoo bottle, or a soda bottle. And in my demonstration, I'm going to be using a small bottle that some honey came in that has a little corkscrew top. You'll also need a thin sheet of flexible foam or cardboard. If you don't have either of that, you could use a styrofoam plate or a paper plate. You're going to be modeling something that floats on top of the water in the container, so you could get as resourceful as you need to. And finally, you will need a lab partner, like a friend or family member that would be willing to help you out. The title of this week's lesson is called Modeling Hotspots. This is the first part in a 2-week part activity exploring Earth's volcanism. The essential question that we're asking today is, how does a volcanic island chain form? The standard that we're working on is collecting data, mapping, and describing patterns in the locations of volcanoes and earthquakes related to tectonic plate boundaries, interactions, and hotspots. Successful criteria is, I will be able to create a model that demonstrates how a volcanic island chain forms. I'm so glad you tuned in this week. This activity is a lot of fun, and I know that you will have a great time doing this. So the big question is, what is a hotspot? A hotspot is in the Earth's mantle when a plume of magma that is much hotter than the surrounding magma rises up through the Earth. If we take a look at this diagram here on the right, this hotspot is the mantle material that is rising up. As that rising magma breaks through at the Earth's crust, it creates a volcano. And we're going to talk more about what this diagram means and make our own model of that. When a tectonic plate moves slowly over the hotspot, it forms a chain of volcanoes. This process is driven by convection. In this activity, you will model hotspot volcanoes, and you will be referring back to this particular diagram again, and this diagram has also been included in this week's activity packet. At this point in time, I'm going to start going through the procedures on how to set up the model. If you are tuning in right now and you are unsure if you're going to be able to find these materials, please note that I will be providing a video after I go through the procedures of me demonstrating the model. So if you want to go ahead and wait for that part of the video, that will be after I go through our 6 steps of the procedures. If you are wanting to do this on your own, as I go through the procedures, you will want to pause the video at the end and conduct the experiment yourself before watching my video so it doesn't spoil the inquiry part of this activity. Once again, you should use adult supervision to complete the following procedures. And as always, lab safety, you should read through the entire list of procedures before starting. Step 1, you're going to want to fill an empty container with cold tap water almost to the top. A glass bowl, plastic storage container, or the kitchen sink will work. Notice that the water should be filled up to this level. The picture that you're looking at is an aquarium that I found in my garage, but you could really honestly use just about anything to be able to make this model. For step 2, you're going to mix together some food coloring, pepper, or drink mix with hot tap water in a small bottle. You should be able to put your thumb over the very top of the bottle. So ground pepper will work, any food dye that you might have around the house, or if you even have a drink mix in the kitchen, any of those will work just fine. For step 3, you want to hold your thumb or finger over the mouth of the bottle and stand the bottle in the center of the container. The mouth of the bottle must be under the water, which means that you need to submerge the entire bottle down to the very bottom of the container, but make sure that you keep your thumb or finger on the top of the bottle the entire time. Do not let any of the hot water come out until your partner is ready. On step 4, you're going to have a partner float a small piece of foam or cardboard on the surface right above the bottle. At this time, during step 5, you're going to take your thumb off the mouth of the bottle and observe what happens. At this point in time, you might want to talk this through with your partner, noticing what you see, as well as anything that you and your partner can talk through what's happening. Just make sure that you're writing down and communicating your observations. For step 6, you want to have your partner move the foam to show how a chain of hotspot volcanoes forms. Once you have done this part, step 6, you'll want to write your observations in post question number 2. I encourage you at this point in time to pause the video if you're going to be doing this model on your own before you move forward. In the next segment of this presentation, I will be showing you the model that I created earlier today. So stay tuned for that video if you would like to watch that video. If you are going to be doing this for yourself, go ahead and pause the video, try it out, write down your observations, and then come back here in a few minutes and we will see how my model went, and then you can compare that. At the end of the video lesson today, there are 4 post-lab questions, discussion questions, so you want to stay tuned for that. So this is time for the fun part of the lab, where you actually get to make your own model of hotspot volcanism. If you have a pair of safety glasses, you should use them just so you can prevent getting a splash in your eyes. What you're going to do is fill a storage container. I'm going to use an aquarium from the garage with clear, cold tap water. In step 2 of the procedures, you're going to need to be careful with hot water. I recommend just using hot tap water. There's really no reason to use boiling water to get the effect that you need for your model. Once you figure out what container you want to do, you want to fill that up with hot water and then add a few drops of food coloring. Just 5 or 6 drops is enough. If you don't have food coloring, you could use pepper or even drink mix if you have any drink mix in the kitchen, just enough to give the water a dark color. And like I said, this does not have to be boiling hot. In step 3, you're going to hold your thumb or finger over the mouth of the bottle and stand the bottle in the center of the container. The mouth of the bottle must be underwater. Keep your thumb or finger on the mouth of the bottle until your partner is ready. In step 4, you're going to have a partner float a small piece of foam or cardboard on the water above the bottle. After your partner has floated a piece of foam or cardboard on the water above the bottle, take your thumb off the mouth of the bottle and observe what happens. As the plate moves over where the mantle material is coming up and reaching the Earth's crust, you can see that over many millions of years, as that plate slides past, that mantle material is constantly hitting there in the same spot, creating a volcanic island chain. Welcome back. I hope that your model turned out as awesome as mine. I really had a great time doing this lab today, and I hope that you did as well. I have 4 post-lab questions for you this week. The first one is to communicate. It's very important for you to be able to draw and label diagrams to show what happened in your model of the formation of a hotspot volcano. You may use my diagram that I used in steps 4, 5, and 6 for reference if you need to, and make sure that you color it, label it. As I would tell my students, do the most when it comes to making a diagram so that anyone else that sees it can understand how your model worked. Pause the video if you would like to take a moment to go ahead and create your diagram before you move on to the second question. For question 2, you would want to make observations. You should have already filled this in when I was going over the procedures, but if you haven't, as you move the foam plate to one side and you repeated the procedure, in what direction did you notice the hot spot move? You'll want to go ahead and write down any observations that you and your partner made when you were conducting your experiment, and pause the video to go ahead and do that at this time if you haven't already. Post-lab question 3, drawing conclusions. Suppose a series of hotspot volcanoes forms a line along a moving plate. Is the plate moving toward the newest volcano in the line of volcanoes or away from it? You can use the diagram that I've provided below to answer this question. Finally, we've reached lab question number 4, infer. Suppose a hotspot forms a chain of volcanic islands. If one island has active volcanism or an active volcano, is it likely to be the newest or the oldest? Take your observations from making your model, or look at the diagram that I've provided below and see if you can figure out which volcano it would be. Completing your 4 lab questions this week will ensure that you've answered this week's scientific question: how do volcanic island chains form? You can also check your answers by going online to the Knox County Schools website and clicking on the Student Support Resources tab. Don't forget to clean up and wash your hands, and if you really enjoyed making the model this week and you'd like to share it with us, use @KCS Science. I'm sure your science teachers across the district would love to see your models. Thank you again for joining me for 8th grade week 5 activity. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and have a wonderful day.